Hey guys, I wanted to make a brief video exploring spiral dynamics. If you watch my videos, you know that I have a pretty, well, it's my favorite video that I've made, um, talking about spiral dynamics, the evolution of consciousness. And, well, I still agree that there is an evolution of consciousness. I don't, there are definitely limits to spiral dynamics and well, integral models in general. And I've kind of really thought carefully about this, and I've posted a few ideas before on these issues, but I just thought it was kind of interesting to talk about. I got like an hour, and I'm kind of brewing over a couple ideas. So yeah, the spiral dynamics. Somebody on Twitter actually brought up a good point. Um, he was like, "All right, is communism a orange meme, or is communism a green meme? Because in spiral dynamics, you have it's a spiral evolution of consciousness, and it goes um, each sort of ring of the spiral is a new development. Um, so yeah, at first I was like, well, all right. Communism appears to be orange, which is rational, and green, which is socially oriented. Um, so socialism is orangey green. You know, it's rational pluralism. Um, and at least that's what I always interpreted it as. And then he said, "Well, what about the fall of communism? Um, where does that fit in? Is communism orange because there seems to be orange communism? Is communism green? There seems to be green. Is it blue, which is more mythological, idealistic? There seems to be blue too. So it's sort of like, well, if communism fits into everything, then how is the spiral dynamics model helping us understand?" Um, so this led me to two ideas. One is way too linear to really describe how ideas evolve and how civilization evolves in its consciousness. Or two, we can keep a simple spiral if you want, but the what's it called the way in which it maps development, not necessarily the spiral itself, but the specific stages that have been categorized in spiral dynamics, aren't intuitively reflecting reality. Um, Maybe they do sort of historically, because there's rationalism and then there was pluralism. Maybe they're getting at the surface level of um, some kind of deeper process that's going on. So the spiral dynamics itself maybe has mapped out um, the surface features of things and not trying to go further back and understand some deeper process. And I think that probably is something that I would tell somebody if they ask me, well, why don't you like spiral dynamics, or why aren't you content with the way it describes reality, uh, social evolution? So, as an alternative, just to end the video, as an alternative to spiral dynamics, I would say, well, we can keep it. I mean, you can keep the general socio-cultural evolution because it's real, um, but maybe a better way to create milestones up the spiral as to what's going on is maybe to look at more phenomenal things that aren't necessarily too arbitrary, too cliche. Um, that being said, complexity, the use of the environment, um, and degrees of self-reflection. Um, and I don't just mean personal self-reflection, that's part of it, but I think social progress is more about the degree of how what kind of intensity we have in our consciousness, both individual and collective, that we can reflect on things. And then with that reflection, what do we discern about reality? In the West, for instance, we focused very, very strongly on materialism and the physical experience of reality, and that focus has helped science become very successful and become part of our culture and the way we interpret reality. We're very much materialists in that sense. Um, but there are alternative ways it could go. Um, so it's very difficult to kind of say that there is some kind of universal map. Um, and, alright, so this is a final point. Because it's so nonlinear, um, even if we did use complexity and self-reflection as a sort of intensifying spiral, uh, we still have a problem. It may not convey it as nicely or as accurately as we wish. So, in my own view, um, one interesting way to kind of look at societal evolution is more the way we see the phylum in the tree of life, where we can follow complexity through history, history of life, and we can also pinpoint particular adaptations and branches from that first adaptation that resulted in other things, and then we can categorize certain behaviors that happen, whether in higher forms of complex ideas and higher forms of human realities, perceptions of reality, and more basic, simpler forms. And some of them share the same thing. There are patterns that follow up through evolution. Um, and there's no reason to think that it doesn't continue in social evolution, or that we can find continuity between the phylum tree of life and the phylum tree of mental life and meaning and interpretation. So that's my idea that I've kind of been playing with for a couple weeks. It's just an idea. I would really be interested if somebody actually tried to create a phylum version of what spiral dynamics is trying to do, because it would point out other patterns that are very important, and that people don't always think about, because if you have a completed model that is very linear, even the spiral sometimes can be like that. You kind of see reality as this kind of like a ladder where everything's already completed in a very arbitrary, artificial kind of way, instead of a groping, emergent process, which reality is. Even rungs on a spiral ladder can be argued to have the same limitation of how it encapsulates a more dynamic and an impulsive evolution of human societies. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on this subject. Let me know what you think. Make a comment or video reply. Thanks a lot.